Well, I'll tell you why I'm especially glad to be here tonight. I'm especially glad because I gave a book signing a couple weeks ago in New York, and a teacher came up to the table, and she said, "Can I have my picture taken with you? The kids all think you're dead." That's why I'm especially glad to be here tonight. Another letter last week that said, "Dear R.L. Stine, you are my second favorite author." That was the whole letter. I don't know. Tell the truth, how many of you thought you were going to see Jack Black today? Jack and I are like twins, right?
You can't scare me, not with the basement of botany. Maybe a sentient dummy, calling all creeps. Boo dudes! Welcome to another installment of Calling All Creeps. I'm Matt, and I'm here with your co-host and my co-host, Dave.
Hey.
Hey.
Co-hosting.
Dave, what's going on in your life? How are you?
I'm shitty. This week sucked.
Dave had a bad day today.
I had a bad week.
Yeah. What went on before this?
So this is like an important week for ITing. It's like testing week at school.
Right.
So like boss yells. Boss was mad. And me. Because for stuff I didn't do. Then the testing company decides to update their app over the weekend without telling me. So that was a problem. She's mad. And they were mad. A lot of people were mad. And it was like,
I had someone mad at me at work.
I have to be there early because I need to be ready and set up everything to run everything. But also, God dang, impeach Trump has to be in New York City. And
what is happening?
All of the United Nations are there.
Oh, okay.
All the nations united there. So for some reason, it makes all the traffic around the city fucking bullshit.
Can I back you up for a second? Who's Trump?
Oh, yeah, we need some context for people. So,
in case anyone hasn't been paying attention.
I'm not even about bits right now. My week's been so...
so it takes me... Bits.
I live 25 minutes from door to door from my job. Yeah. It's taken me an hour and 20 minutes to get there in the morning.
Nightmare.
And an hour and 30 minutes to get home.
And it took you longer this morning.
It took me longer this morning because I got hit by a dump truck.
You got hit by a dump truck.
A dump truck took a dump on my life.
Toad's Turnpike, and you couldn't avoid the semi.
Which is funny because Mario Kart came out for iPhone yesterday.
Yeah.
And nobody's adding me as friends, and the people who do realize how fucking far I am in it already. I'm so good.
Do you think it's pretty serendipitous, right, that Mario Kart came out for the phone this week, and then everybody's talking about I'm Peach this week?
Oh, which is funny because Peach was one of the main characters. I play as Peach and Toadette because everything I'm unlocking is pink and super hot and sexy, so I'm kind of just like driving around getting first place. I'm a snack.
You are a snack.
I've
always called you a thick snack.
I am baby.
THICC snack.
When it comes to Mario Kart, I am baby. When it comes to real life, baby. I am hit by dump truck.
You are hit by dump truck and your bumper is no more.
My bumper just decided to quit on me because a dump truck decided that I shouldn't own that anymore.
Ay. And yet, here you are. You made it home.
Zip ties?
Zip ties and what else? Duct tape, screws?
No duct tape. We drilled some holes and put some new screws. Put some new buttholes in my car.
Look, got to do what you got to do. You are a mechanic, though, right?
No.
Oh, shit.
It's fucking dumb, but thanks to Craig. And also, I'm going to shout out to somebody who probably doesn't want their full name on this podcast.
Sure. We could do first names.
Yeah, so this is a shout out to, I'm stealing this vernacular language from Jeremy, an old roommate of mine. This week has sucked shit.
Yes. Well said by Jeremy. Forever in our hearts. He's still alive. He's fine.
Jer Bear, yeah. But anyway, you may be curious about there's ice in my mouth. Sorry. About the opening of this podcast.
Yeah.
And the title that you clicked on.
Right. So we're going to play it kind of fast and loose this week and just kind of see where the episode takes us. This is a little like a check-in session with you and I, with your hosts. We're going to check in with one another. And
also, this is officially the 1-year episode.
Yes. Hey, Dave, happy 1-year anniversary.
Happy 1-year anniversary. This is where we kiss.
This is where we kiss, but we are not in the same room. Digital kiss. I'm touching the camera. Oh, that's for the listeners.
Kiss.
We just we kissed our fingies and we applied them to our iPhone cameras.
If you're listening, why? But also,
especially this episode, why?
Thank you.
Like everyone bailing after 5 minutes, like, ooh, they got nothing this week.
Yeah, Dave got hit by a dump truck and he didn't die. Fuck it. I want some real blood, and then I'll know.
Yeah,
but
want real
it's
ghosts.
Super exciting, regardless of how low energy we are right now. But it is our 1-year anniversary, and we fucking got to go and see and meet R.L. Stine and the art boy himself, Tim Jacobus.
That's right. This is what we really wanted to talk about and just sort of recount our experience. Because no hyperbole, we've both been excited for an event like this since we were children.
Yes.
So I think obviously the podcast is the perfect forum to explore our experience. Wouldn't you say, Dave?
I would say that wholeheartedly. Also, we were actually going to kind of bootleg the whole conversation. I was recording it on my phone while we have that intro. But there was this baby who hates literature.
My goodness. Yeah. There was like a 2-year-old in the row in front of us. This is a whole thing that we're about to get into. Should we just get into it?
It's such a good story. All right, so it's at Barnes & Noble. Yeah. You basically, your seat and how close you are depends on how early you were there. We were there. I left straight from work. It still took me like an hour and a half to get there. Matt, you were there. We got there pretty early for the group. We were like third row.
And I wasn't in any rush, and then it did dawn on me that maybe we should get up there. So I sort of dragged Dave around for a minute to look at Lord of the Rings books.
Again, fucking nerd. Dumb. That's dumb.
And then this was the fanciest Barnes & Noble I've ever been to.
It's my favorite.
2 floors. There's an escalator.
They have a used book, record, and DVD section in the back.
That's right. Yes, there's a very lovely gentleman that worked in the used book section who was helping me out before you got there and was like telling me about the used book system and all this stuff and complimented my shirt. We got compliments on our shirts all night.
So many compliments on our shirts. Creepy Co.
We're sporting our Creepy Co. shirts with shout out listener Kathy. Kathy got me that shirt for my birthday. One of my most prized possessions.
Super sweet.
And we match.
We do match.
So it has an all-over pattern of different Goosebump monsters.
Yeah. Like matches, we were fire.
Hell yeah, we were.
So we got in line, we got into our seat, and some lady got there way before us with her 2-year-old.
Yeah, and so whatever. Like,
that's
kids
fine.
like Goosebumps and raising a kid's heart and et cetera, et cetera. You know all the like preamble, but you can't have your kid shouting, screaming the whole time. Like truly the whole time, and not truly. It just shows it's nothing against the child. It's your own self-awareness.
Yeah. Or R.L. Stine's awareness of how shitty you were being with your kid, and when he slams you in front of a room of like 100 people.
Well, this is the point that it got to. Is it went on for, what would you say, 20 minutes, maybe less?
It was around 20 minutes, and then you got R.L. slammed.
You got R.L. slammed, and it was so awkward.
It was
I hated
awesome.
It so much.
I loved it. Num, num,
but it
num.
was
Feed me more. It was so good.
Feed me more from your mean teat, R.L.
It ruled. Well, it was also extremely rude, and it wasn't RL's job to do this. It was to the point where, like, you can hear it. I have more recording where he's trying to give his little fun monologue. Like, RL had, like, a tight 5. He got up, he told his jokes. They fucking ruled.
He does this a lot, and if there were any people who had gone to a previous signing, they'd recognize the jokes, but the jokes were good.
Jokes were really good. That was some Jovial Bob.
That he was hearkening back to his old Jovial Bob days.
Yeah.
But, the guy, and he had people there. He had like guys on the side. I don't know. I don't want to call them guards, but
I feel like those were Barnes & Noble employees.
Really?
But like they're like corporate people or whatever.
Yeah. They're dressed like shitty Secret Service.
Yeah, but he just brought Joan, his wife, which was so adorable. They're so cute together. I love them.
Yeah.
Oh,
man. The perfect couple. What's the Twitter meme thing? Name a more perfect duo.
A duo?
I dare you.
I dare you. I made the meme while we were waiting. The one that's
right.
like...
It took you seconds to get that up. It was very impressive.
This could be us, but you playing.
That's
just
right.
A picture of her. She just walked over when he started the signing and just put her hand delicately on his shoulder, and he looked up knowingly. He's just so sweet. It
warms me.
So basically, all you really need to know is that R.L. Stine fucking rules. And he was hilarious, and he was super cool. Tim Jacobus was basically like, I was a metalhead, and we got to learn his whole story.
Also very nice.
Also super nice. He had done over or close to 100 Goosebumps covers in his lifetime.
Yeah. I also want to say, when we first started the show, I reached out to Tim Jacobus, and he replied quickly to my email and just was very nice and just said, like, those sobering moments when you like don't know anything about what you're doing and like you try to explore it, and then someone's like, gain some perspective about this thing. This was us starting this podcast and me thinking like, well, like, let's see if he'll do our art. Like, how far-fetched could that be? And it's like, well, he's a professional artist who makes a living on this and has done it for years, and the price point's going to reflect that. And it did. But he was very nice about what he could and could not do. And
we also got some Len Danovich art. Shout out,
which came out fantastic.
And you showed him one of our bags.
I did, with our art on it by Len, and he was very impressed. He liked it a lot.
And the question everyone's asking me is, Matt said, yes, we have a podcast when we met them, and R.L. Stine himself went, oh, calling all creeps. All right. So he knows that there's our podcast, and I think he knows the name because we just stole it from him.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, RL, you're listening right now. What up? I liked when you yelled at that baby.
Yeah. Good job, dude. And should we also say what he said when he yelled at that baby?
Yes, because at first, he was very polite in the beginning, saying he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just distracted. It's a little loud. Yeah. Referring to the baby that had, at this point, been yelling for probably around 15 minutes, and not even crying, but just yelling.
Yeah, or kind of just saying stuff out loud.
Yeah.
To his mom. So RL had enough. And he said, I find that very annoying.
Yeah. Well, no, before that, he had another point where he's like, oh, I'm sorry, there's another show going on in the front row here.
Yeah, so they had a couple
he's like,
chances.
Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. But finally he was just like, this is annoying. And the room shut down. You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And amazingly,
that would have been the end of a chapter. It would have been like, then RL said, this is annoying.
Yeah. And that hung in the air.
All of our mouths were dry as cotton.
And mine was in an O of surprise, frankly. And that hung in the air for a few a few seconds, and
felt like hours.
It did feel like a long time, and then he caught himself and he was just like, I know I should be nice, right? I guess I should be nice, but it's very annoying. And then he repeated it. It was great.
And then he said, okay. And he just continued, and the baby continued. But the best part was the mom sat there while it was happening. And I don't know if she was mortified. She seemed a little bit, but she just sat there like, I'm staying here.
She stayed, which was an insane choice. And I say that just because I don't love that when he said that, the whole room glared at her, daggers through her. And she looked around at everyone, and we all made eye contact with her.
But at the same time, this was her third chance.
No, I know. Yeah.
Because you know that when you were the only person with a screaming person in the front row, and even at the end, finally, I think so I blame the lady, not the kid, whatever. And I blame the employees running this event because they only came in to really be like, hey, I think maybe you should go. 45, it was like the end.
Yeah.
And what she did is she just walked to the back and stood at the back the whole time, and the baby continued to scream.
Yeah, right.
And she still went in line. Still went in line to have him sign the graphic novel you got for buying a ticket, and she didn't even bring another goose. Like, the whole thing is you get one personal thing to get signed and the book. So I feel like she just may be somebody that goes to every one of these signings.
She was a weirdo. That's why I don't feel bad, is because she took no action. Like, nothing came of that event. She just stayed. And didn't move to the back until 45 minutes in, which, to your point, shame on everybody who works at that event. It took you that long to, address the situation.
And not only that, but like, we met R.L. Stine, and this is our 1 year episode, and we're talking about a screaming baby. When that is like the exciting thing, and R.L. Stine's like, enough, and then he's just like, all right, I'm not going to get dirty on this. I'm not going to be dirty, R.L. Stine. I'm not going to just start joveling. Like, I could tell he was about to slam. Like, it's like we saw his tight five, but sometimes when there's a heckler, you just got to let him have it.
Yeah.
RLS was ready to let him have it. And I would have paid quadruple as much as I paid to be there to see that. Because, But yeah, also good stuff happened there too. But R.L. Stine yelled at the baby, and everybody just sucked the air out of the room. And as nervous as I was like, yes, get him! Get him!
Because he doesn't give a shit. He's like 75. He's done this 1,000 times. He doesn't have to be there at Barnes & Noble.
And also, at the end, I loved it because he walked around, and he was talking to Joan and the people in the front row. And he was just like, the whole time, I was like, and he mouthed, he was like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, yes. And this is what I really want to talk about, because we have always characterized R.L. Stine throughout this entire podcast as someone who is really trying to make these books and cares deeply, and we're trying to give him a intellectual eye into what he's done for the genre of children's horror literature. And at certain points, we're like, well, it's just a book, and we give him... But, like, R.L. Stine, in the same way, all I can really compare this to is if people have watched The Toys That Made Us, which I highly recommend, watch the episode for Masters of the Universe, which I had some toys as a kid because my uncle was into it, but it was a little earlier than us. But the people that made He-Man, and this huge cultural touch point for the late 80s, mid 80s, it was created by people who were like, we need toys, we need to make money to compete with Star Wars. And they're like, I don't give a fuck, what do we do? They're like, well, people like there's no barbarians. They're like, all right, just make like a beefy naked guy. It's like, who's he gonna fight? Like, skeleton. And it's like, well, all I have is this tiger. And they're like, I don't care, put a fucking saddle on it and sell it. Like, just get this shit done. And Merman was originally supposed to be called Seaman. And... they got caught because they were like, we just really wanted a cum joke to be made. And R.L. Stine is like that. There were points where he was discussing the barking ghost. They were like, well, what covers do you love? And he's like, I love the barking ghost, the red eyes. It's great. And it's great because it's beautiful on the front, but the book inside just is shit. Like, he was basically like, that book sucked.
Yeah.
And Tim Jacobus is like, no, I read it. It was good. And he was just like, that book's fucking awful. He's like, I was writing it. And I was like, what shit am I putting out?
He was honest.
It was and he was really straightforward about like certain points. He was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It was just like, it was like how David Bowie forgot full albums he recorded because he was on coke. But R.L. Stine just had this like hilarity and indifference that was his drug addiction that I respect and love so much.
Oh, baby, it was refreshing.
It really was, because we have so much to say, and all in levity, about this great thing that meant so much to us, and it means so much to other people, and he gets that, but he is not changing what it was to him.
No.
He thought it was going to be 4 or 5 or 6 books, and it kept going, and he was like, all right, let's make some fucking money. And there were points where he enjoyed doing it, but there were other points where it was just a job, and he was just like, whatever, it's for kids.
Yeah, there are some stories he regarded well. Like he thinks Haunted Mask is a really good Halloween story, he said.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned that, I don't know if did we talk about this in our Haunted Mask episode, that the girl is Tim Jacobus's niece?
Yes. We learned more about it this time, though, if you want to go into that.
Well, he said that she asked to be on a Goosebumps cover. What was the story there?
He reached out to her and said, hey, do you want to be on a Goosebumps cover? And she basically told all of her friends, I'm going to be on a Goosebumps cover. Just wait till you see it. And he basically was like, all right, hold this mask in front of your face.
Right. So then they'll never know it's her. But how fucking cool.
It's really cool. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you want to hear. It's like when you have a favorite album forever, and then maybe they release like a special edition later where they have that second CD that's just like, for this album, this is a sound we recorded. It's the lead singer taking a deep shit, and we recorded it and put it backwards. And that's
a deep shit.
Well, like, also, R.L. Stine just didn't give a shit about the names of the kids and was like, whatever. And he literally said he would just take out the school directory for his son and just go down the row and just take kids' names until his son would start picking names. And in the end, he learned that his son, who he said has never read a Goosebumps book, and we're like, you blind fucking piece of shit. Which I feel like if we told him the story, like, hey, we hate your son because he's never read these books, he'd be like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, that's kind of how I felt. Like, he was in that mood. He said that his son would be like, you have to put Matt in it. His name is Matt. He probably wouldn't pick it. It was like, you have to put Gabe in it. And he was like, all right. And later he learned that he was making kids. So he'd be like, all right, $20. And the kids would pay him, and he would make R.L. Stine, make his dad put the kid's name in a book for like their lunch money.
It's a good racket, man.
It's a good racket.
He figured it out.
Yeah. Do you know why he couldn't describe the kids to look like them?
Yeah, he's blind.
Yeah, because he wouldn't be like, R.L. Stine wouldn't be like, he was wearing what felt like a blue shirt.
Yeah. His face felt nice.
Yes. But Tim had a full PowerPoint presentation.
He did have a PowerPoint.
And went from his art, we saw like George Washington. It's George Washington he drew.
Right, as a child.
To which his parents were like, you will never be an artist. And he was like, fuck you, Mom and Dad. I do art now.
Yeah. He had a lot of his famous covers in the presentation. And for everyone, he got an ovation.
Which he deserves.
Yeah, he does. He threw some Curly in there with his dog Drool, which I forgot the dog's name, which was decided by a fan poll, apparently.
Just seeing that art gave me a fan poll.
I felt it from where I was sitting.
Right next to me. Nice and warm. Right next to me, jammed in there.
And I don't know. I mean, it was a nice conversation between the two of them. We learned a lot. We both have a crush on them. And we wish to marry them one day. And
who knows what... I feel like some of the conversation was things they never discussed.
Yeah.
Like, he told R.L. Stine, like, people would always come up and ask him, like, what's your favorite Goosebumps book? And he would always say, I don't know, I've never read one.
Yeah.
So he started reading them, and he actually read through all of the books. So he has his favorites. And R.L. Stine basically says, because there's all these different things about R.L. Stine's favorite books. He's just like, I just say a new one every time. I don't really care.
Right.
And he's like, I have some that I like and some that I know suck. He's like, so I just go through some that I feel like are all right.
Yeah, which I think is a good answer. Like, it keeps it from being boring, and they're all your babies in some way. And also, to him, especially the original series, which is all anybody really cares about, frankly. That's not true. Maybe new fans like the new material. But they were written so long ago. I would get that question and be like, I don't fucking know. Like... 1994, which was 2 years into the series, was 25 years ago. So it's like...
Insane.
I don't know why I did that weird backwards math. I could just say it started 27 years ago. But my point is, it's a long time. So I would just kind of forget the details of each book.
So one thing I loved is he was talking about Slappy. And he was just like, Slappy is really popular. He's like, there are 18 books with Slappy as the main character. Yeah. Because people like Slappy. The current series is called Slappy World. can you think of interesting things for a dummy to do 18 times?
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, fuck this. And he was like, so I was so sick of writing Slappy that I was like, I did a book called The Death of Slappy. Or what's the book called? It's like...
The Ghost of Slappy.
The Ghost of Slappy. He's like, so I decided to kill him. Yeah. And I was like, good, no more Slappy books. And then the publisher says, hey, you can't kill the main character. You have to write more. And he's like, so I ran out of ideas. And that's why this new book, the most recent, is called The Dummy Meets the Mummy. And he was just like, he's like, hey guys, this is called phoning it in. And I loved it because he's like, he's the king of that. And as we know, and we say every episode, he comes up with a good title and then he just figures it out as it goes along.
Yeah.
I'm actually very interested. The reason we were there, I don't know if we discussed it, is that this was his graphic novel release.
Yeah.
It's one of 3 parts, or 4 parts, I believe. It's published by IDW, who has done the previous Goosebump titles. He actually said that this is his first graphic novel and his first time writing comics, which is not true.
As you've detailed.
He wrote for my favorite horror character, Man-Thing, and it's the worst comic I've ever read in my life. If you read reviews online, it's people were like, it is a directionless mess. It sounds like he started and had no idea where it was going and made it up as it went along, and it just takes these weird turns.
I mean,
it gets some,
that sounds like a Goosebumps book.
But no, I bought it for you.
Yes.
We're gonna need to read it because I've sold it. I work at a comic shop as my second job, and I sell it based on that this is the guy who wrote Goosebumps from your childhood. And you will not believe how crazy this book gets. It has so many twists and turns and just random jokes and things that make no sense. And you're like, well, that can't be where the plot's going. And then it does. And then it just takes another turn. Like, it makes 0 sense. Oof. Like, at one point, so it starts off in Hollywood. And then at one point, somebody's head gets chopped off, but it's just their soul's head that gets chopped off.
Their soul's head?
It makes no sense.
Yikes.
It's crazy, and you need to experience it. It's the worst comic book I've ever read, and after meeting R.L. Stine, it makes so much sense, and I wish there was a Q&A, because it was so on point to be talking about his new graphic novel, because he did not make the name Man-Thing. He didn't. This is a Marvel property, a Gerber property for decades, came out the same week as Swamp Thing, just basically really cemented what Marvel was doing with horror at that time, with Savage Tales and Conan and that whole little more when it came to like EC comics, which he was very much into. He talked about how he used to read comics. In some interviews he talks about EC, where at the end of those Man-Thing comics he got to write little shorts, like quick horror shorts. One of them dealing with Black Lives Matter, which is incredible, and I recommend everybody to read. It's at the end of his Man-Thing number 4. But those are where he really, really put his storytelling chops into. But when you didn't create a character and you just have to make 5 issues like filled with it, like
right,
he doesn't do well with other people's stuff.
Properties, yeah.
But when it's just his, and that's why we're going to give it a full episode, a full reading. And because it's a graphic novel, maybe we'll do something with YouTube. No promises, but...
yeah, I know about YouTube.
Yeah, but... and also Instagram TV, we figured out how to reformat. So that's why you got your buoys there. And we've got some really good responses, but... I was interested to hear about that, but it really explains it now when he is R.L. Stine and he's done so much, and when there's something that people throw at him and his agent's like, this is what you're doing, he's like, people just want my corny jokes and weird spooky shit. I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And he's been doing these mummy books, and I'm interested to read them now. If he literally told us, he's just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I'll kill him. I don't know, he meets a mummy. Like, it's... yeah. It's going to be interesting because our most recent R.L. Stine book we read was for the Christmas episode. Yeah. Which you can see if you're on iTunes. It's unlisted. We put it out of the season, just like this one will be. You'll see it when it's new, but just so it doesn't ruin our numbering. But listen to that, because that was... You can see the growth in his writing. Not that he wasn't a good writer before, but he really understood... his audience and kind of his sound for what people are expecting of him. So we had to stop then because my fucking cat Chainsaw decided to jump onto my router in the other room and unplug all of my Verizon connection because he's an asshole.
It's funny because right before that, my cat was clawing at the window screen because there's probably a bug or something, trying to eventually destroy the screen. So.
Do you have little holes in your screen?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm like, deposit? Yeah, you mean screen replacements? Fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess, I had to re-listen to, but what we're discussing is that R.L. Stine really knows his audience and his flavor and can deliver that now. And it's good.
You know, he does have a flavor. Can we talk about meeting him?
Yes. I was so nervous.
I was too. I didn't anticipate
said shit.
that. Well, yeah, I said shit. I always base this on the principle. Now when in the rare opportunities I get to talk to people I admire, I don't know what to say. And I genuinely think that A, it doesn't matter. B, like, I don't think either of us really get anything out of that. I always feel embarrassed and worse after I meet the person I admire.
But did you this time?
I felt embarrassed.
Did you?
But that's a me thing.
No, but what you said and what you were talking about, like, I felt like we needed to go to the next thing because he may have brought that up.
Well, yeah. So I go by the rule of if I feel this compulsion, it's much like the compulsion to like Instagram a concert that you're at, even though you should be watching it, which I do all the time and everyone does. And I don't know what that mechanism is, but it's there. And I have the same thing with like, if there's somebody in the room that I admire, it's like, I got to talk to them. And it's like, but what are you going to say? Like, what are you going to do? It's like, I don't know. I'm just going to just going to be there.
So I self-destructed. Because I was like, I'm going to go first so I can get a photo of you there and you can get it. Because he was like, no photos unless it's from the line. And
yeah, that was a weird stipulation.
And I was like, if I fuck up Matt's photo, it's going to ruin me for the rest of my life. So
well, that's what I felt. And I do feel bad because I only got one solid shot of you and RL.
It was perfect.
I do feel bad because like they were like, all right, move along.
You got a good Tim Jacobus thing where I'm explaining how shitty my book looks and he's laughing, and that's very good. Yeah. But it complicated it with all the the regulations. All right, but the people are waiting to hear what you said. It was from the heart and it was beautiful.
Yeah. So my principle is if I'm gonna do this thing where I'm gonna talk to someone who doesn't really need to know who I am, I will just say that I'll just say something. I mean, this is trite, but I'll say something nice. I feel like people like to hear nice things. So like I'll just go with like I'll try to say something that will make them feel good. So I Tim Jacobus, I talked to him and you went first, right?
I did.
So tell us about your interaction first. So with Jacobus, you were telling him about the book because you had a well-loved book.
So it's one of the books I was able to recover from my mother's classroom, which went through the hands of me, my older brother, my cousin, and then over almost 15 years of third graders. Also a classroom that had asbestos and black mold. Thanks, public schools. That. Yeah. And a lot of them had to be thrown out, if anything, the whole thing when they were cleaning. So not many made it. But my copy of Werewolf of Fever Swamp made it through. Great cover. That's what I thought. I'm like, if both of them are going to be there, I want it to be. And also, I wanted to ask him if the William Blake reference was on purpose, just because we took enough. This goes out to David Daniels. We had enough visionary poetry in poetry classes to the point where, and even in my thesis, there's a whole thing with William Blake in it. And I don't know if you've seen the movie with Johnny Depp.
I haven't. You've told me about it.
What the fuck is it called?
Something Dead's in the title. What's it called?
It's a cowboy movie.
Black and white 1995
Oh my
Johnny
God.
Depp
movie. And my landlord did the music for it.
What?
My landlord, who looks just like Tom. My landlord looks exactly like Tom Petty.
Got it.
I love her so dearly, and
she does look like Tom Petty.
And people are like, "That's rude for you to say about a woman." And I'm like, no. Here's a photo of her. And they're like, yeah, she looks like Tom Petty. That's fine.
Yeah.
She looks like female Tom Petty.
Yeah.
But Tom
Petty's
Petty
good
also
looking.
kind of looks like a female, so that's fine. Anyway,
yeah.
I handed him the book, and he's just like, wow, you read this enough? And I was like, this book has, I'm like, this book survived 15 years of third graders. Mm-hmm. And he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, in public school. And he was like, oh, all right. And he signed it.
Yeah, on the cover.
Like, all right, cool. And he's actually buddies with my uncle.
Right.
I didn't want to be like, hey, you know my uncle. Again, like being that. Because my uncle, who follows me on Instagram, shout out to Uncle Guy.
Uncle Guy.
Uncle
That's
Guy. He's awesome. And Uncle Guy really, a lot of things that I think are cool now came from Uncle Guy, and just seeing him. He was like the much younger brother of my mother, and just seeing him, like, he would buy a whole box of baseball cards or football cards and stuff, and be like, these are the cards we need, because it was the 90s, early 90s. You wanted to collect the full set, and we would just sit in his room and just open full boxes each of baseball cards and stuff.
Same, dude. I did that all the time.
But he would go and buy these full sets, boxes, and we would go through like a carton. It was awesome.
Yeah, I would do that, and I'd get the price guides. And
Beckett's?
Beckett price guides, which I wanted to like see if I could do it again now. I'm sorry to derail your story, but I wanted to get it again now. But if like the cheapest I could find a Beckett's guide now is like $30.
Also, they stopped really printing them because it's all online, and the sports card market has just taken a shit. It's awful.
Yeah. Sorry, so go on. You were opening
in the
cards.
90s. Well, this is a weird 90s anxiety thing. You know, like you're very anxious. You ever have something you've done and it'll come up randomly and bother you, even though it doesn't matter?
Dave, please.
I was asking. I know the answer. I traded a Mike Piazza rookie card to my other cousin, the non-Goosebumps cousin, for a holographic Zapdos.
Okay. At the time, it seems pretty good for you.
As a kid at the time, it seems good, but if you talk to any adult who knew anything, I was an idiot.
But do you know for a fact that there's truth there? Because aren't rookie cards are famously like valueless? Like, well, not famously.
Most cards then had value, and that had value at that time.
Right.
At that time, it had more value than the Zapdos. Working at a comic shop, Zap Comics and Cards, I know, because people always try to sell us their Beanie Babies and sports cards. I talked to my owner who did sports cards, everything, and I'm like, this is the Mike Piazza card that I had.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we have one of those in the 10-cent bin of like sports cards.
Oh, okay.
Guess how much we sell that Zapdos for? In good condition, $15 to $25.
Hell yeah, baby.
We're pretty good we're good on our prices too. So that's a first edition shadowless. It could go for even more, but I'm saying this is just like a later one. So anyway, derailed that pretty hard. But
life is about choices.
Life is about yeah, but so that was an interesting thing. And shout out to Uncle Guy, I guess.
I guess that's
all we need to say. But yeah, we talked about it in an earlier episode that they both coached their son's like football team, and Tim did the art for the helmets. Super dope. Cool. And Tim's done some art for other things too. He started off. This was really interesting. He started off doing paintings for like it seemed very Pathmark to me, but that's just what I knew. But for grocery store, like Sundays, like those weeklies that would be sent out. You know how like they'd be like, hey, you can get a turkey, but there would be like a gorgeous painting of a turkey instead of just a photo?
Yeah, that's weird. I couldn't like grab on to that. I was like, I always thought they were photos. Like I didn't study them long enough.
I remember seeing that as a kid, that like they were paintings, and he used to paint the food, and they would send him food to paint. Mm-hmm. Which he was like, what a good deal. They would send me food to eat, so it would pay for my groceries, and it was like the best deal. And then he wasn't supposed to be the Goosebumps artist. They were like, it's going to be a few. Just throw something in. We'll see how you do. The reason that he put out, of course, Dead House.
Yes.
Famously. And that's why another cover that I do really love, Stay Out of the Basement, it was the other cover. And in the end, they decided to go with him. Later, he was able to talk to them and say, like, why'd you pick us? And they said that his colors really spoke truer to a children's horror series.
Right.
His use of color, which, if you look at his stuff, I think it's more than that. He has kind of like a whimsical, Like when he draws a skull, he does it different than anybody else.
Yeah, it's weird because it is cartoonish, but there's also like a authenticity to it. It's like this weird abstract reality. It's pretty nice. And I think as you said, his use of color is also interesting. But yeah, there's more depth than that.
He showed an album cover he did recently for a band. And if I saw that, I don't know what band it is. I don't remember. Sorry for no shout out. But like if I saw that anywhere, I'd be like, yep, that's Tim Jacobus.
Yeah. It's cool.
Where like, can you say that for a lot of people for drawing like a skeleton?
Yeah, no. I mean,
like out of skeletons that I can see and be like, that is an artist, it's basically either Tim Jacobus, Mike Mignola of Hellboy fame, and Bailey Illustration on Instagram. Those are like the 3 people that I can name. And like working at a comic shop over the years and stuff, like those are the 3 people that can draw skeletons. And I'm like, those are individuals and are all different. Like I feel like if I needed to make some sort of Venn diagram or chart of like the 3 sides of drawing skeletons, those would be it.
Yeah.
He has...
I could name none. So you're ahead of me.
It's tough to find a style, and he really nailed it. Yeah. And he showed us skis he's working on right now for a company.
Right.
Like, he's just a man living his art. Like, he's a professional artist by trade, which is something that I could never do. Like, I feel like, and I understand this now, I could never be like a freelancer.
Because
like,
of the
could
healthcare.
you? Well, no. But like, could you just like try and find jobs different places?
No, I mean, it's not unless you have, that's a difficult thing to not be able to count on your funds.
You have to make things work. You have to hustle. You have to find a gig and really care about what you do and kind of double down on what you do and know your worth to pitch it to somebody.
Right. You have to work really hard and there's no guarantees. And also just practically, from a practical level, you won't get health care and you can't really sustain yourself as you should.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's kind of like writing a cover letter for every job you need to do verbally.
Right.
And we all know how awful
it's
that is.
busting your ass to get a check for like $100 at a time.
And also not seeing it as busting your ass, just seeing it as part of you doing what you love.
Yeah, no, if it's your passion, I totally understand that. It's like, you and I both, you're passionate about art, but you're also passionate about music. I also like music, and if I could somehow make it work playing music, that's incredible. And that's a daydream I've had for a decade, and it's not reasonable. Even people
it could be. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
What this week has told me is that, like, I had a bad week and things happened and the weirdest coincidence happened at one point and then I was fucked because of it. And I was like, well, what are the chances of that? And then I'm hit by a dump truck. So, who knows?
Here you are.
Maybe this podcast is your dump truck and we're going to hit you with some inspiration.
Oh, man. What that's like a dump.
Well, this theme song, we discussed doing this podcast, and I was like, yeah, we should make a cool theme song. And on my drive home from work, I got a text the same day with our theme song.
Yes.
The final version of our theme song with a polished, finished...
Polished is generous.
I love it. It's
Slapped
incredible.
Together is slappy together.
Other people who do podcasts have agreed, but... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been talking too much?
No. You're recounting. We started because you're recounting your interaction with Jacobus.
And also, we learned a lot about Jacobus and just how, because they were doing a book a month, it was really kind of like, it was like jazz. Everybody needed to put something out there and take something back. When it came to hello, Chainsaw. When it came to an edit, if the art was out, and it was painted, and they didn't have the time, RLS had to... Hold on, I gotta throw my cat. RLS had to change the book.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's the notes you don't play. That's what RL knows. And so he did tell a story about Say Cheese and Die.
I love
that
this.
The cover is famously Skeletons Barbecuing, and RL received that cover, a pretty finished version of that, and said, "Hey, the publisher said, "Hey, this is the cover. Can you work this into the story you already wrote?" So he had to come up with a way to incorporate skeletons barbecuing in a book that was, for all intents and purposes, finished. So he came up with a dream sequence, which is a good approach.
It is. Especially because he's like, I told you it was a book about a camera that takes pictures of bad luck things that will happen.
Yeah.
And he's just saying, he's like, so you're saying that the bad luck thing that can happen is his whole family dies
and cooks a meal for him.
Yeah, their skin is ripped from their flesh.
Oh, baby. That's Spidey for you.
He had another edit, too, with lawn gnomes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so he painted the original lawn gnomes with... There's 2 lawn gnomes, I believe, and they're looking kind of smug and, like they're going to have some fun with you because that's what gnomes do. And one of them...
Boy, howdy.
To show this, had his fingy up his nose, and which is hilarious. And that was deemed not suitable for children, so they changed it to him like, I don't know, putting one finger up his butt or something like that. What was it?
I don't even know. He's like putting his head on his head, like his
finger
on his head.
He's just like holding his hand against his head.
Yeah, which it's always been a little weird because he's just kind of like, yeah, I see you.
Yeah. It's creepy.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, they're going for creepy, but if they had done it, if Jacobus could get away with it, it would have been fun.
But characterization of those gnomes, I feel like that changes a lot, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So that's Jacobus. What about your RL experience?
I walked up and I was like, hey, and he's just like, oh, this book's been, and I'm like, can you sign it on the cover? Because Tim had just did it and he was opening it, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's broken into 3 parts, because the book is literally broken into 3 parts.
Yeah, it's taped together. This is its new life.
There are 3 different gaps in the book that, like, you turn the page and it's just tape. Yeah. And then it becomes the book again. And I'm like, yeah, it's in 3 parts, the beginning, middle, and the end.
And the twist.
Oh, yeah. And he was just like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, Matt, hey, let me get your photo. Hey. And then, because I was like, what do I say to this man? Because also Joan had walked over and was talking to him. Yes. And I was like, who the fuck am I? Just talk. Talk
to your wife. Yeah. And this is the other thing. He had a room of, I mean, how many people are in that room, Dave? 200, 300?
So let's think. Each row... I'm guessing our row probably had, like 12 people in it?
At least. I would say more.
And then that was the second, that was like the left side, the one half of a row was like 12 people. Yeah. So each side probably, let's say it's like 24 people. Let's round up to 25. All the way back, there was probably, how many rows back do you think it was? Like 8? 20? No, it was definitely more than 8. No, really? Not 20. 20 seems insane. Maybe like, so we were 15? The third row. 15 sounds about right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's say,
but
okay, 200 seems fair.
Yeah.
There's like 200 people there. We were probably around like 25.
Yeah.
And when we were waiting to get our book signed, we're like, this is a long time and seems like a lot.
Interminable. Yeah.
It is very sweaty. We had dealt with that screaming baby.
Yeah.
The air, it was just a weird vibe. And we were like, this sucks that he has to be here this whole time.
He left that room at 11 p.m.
Yeah. No way. So I just like kind of did that, and I was like, oh, thank you very much. Let me get my photos of Matt. And then you went up and you said your thing, and it made me like, yeah. Yes. I wish I could say something to him, but I feel like anything I had to say, he'd be like, all right, fuck what that guy said. This is it.
Well, I got news for you. He didn't even know that I was talking to him until Joan, the angel, tapped him on the shoulder and said like, hey, this kid's talking to you.
Yeah.
So using my principle that people like to hear nice things, I just said, I just want to let you know, and this is a fulfillment thing for me. I just want to let you know that the reason that I have the job I have today, which is an editor, and the reason that I was an English teacher and that I, got a degree in, that I pursued my master's in English writing and creative writing is directly because of your book. So thanks. Yeah. And thank you for your time. Bye. I just like to end it and get out before someone can reject me.
Why are you downplaying that?
It just felt like it's fine. Any interaction though with somebody, I just automatically, it's a me thing. I just feel.
Yeah, it is a you thing, but also think about it like this. So you taught literature, you taught writing, you taught music writing class, you taught whatever. A couple different things, gen eds to write music writing to things that people can pick their passions or just they had to be there. It's both sides of the spectrum. So you had things that people really cared about or things that people had to be at.
Yeah.
Two different sides of the spectrum, but regardless of either ones, imagine if somebody came up to you and they're like, hey, so when I took your writing class, it really made me think, and that's why I'm doing writing today.
Yeah.
Like, the time that I spent writing about music made me really want to go into it, and now I write for AV Club, or now I do this, or I have my own podcast about music because of what I learned in your class. Like, regardless if that was number 52 of the line of 200, because you're very important and I love you deeply, that would you'd still be like, fuck yeah, way to go, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
And the thing is, like, can you think of how many people it would take to say that to you to the point where you wouldn't care?
That was my fear, is like, this guy doesn't give a fuck.
No, but the thing is, like, I feel like there is a list of that, but like, knowing that you did that, and even if it's that much, it's not like I don't give a fuck anymore. I feel like even if it's just reaffirming the importance and the way he's had an impact on literature and children. And again, the only reason he wrote these books, allegedly, what he told people, is that he just wants kids to read. He just wants people to read. That's what he cares about. And if he just wants kids to read, knowing that, like, you have gone this far into it based on him, like, that's a huge success on his part.
Yeah.
So, like, that has to mean something to him.
It was authentic. I mean, that goal of making kids read, I mean, that's what I was speaking to exactly. It's like, it worked, buddy. You did it.
It really did. I kind of hate my school that I work at for the fact that I went to donate Goosebumps, and they won't take them.
Right.
They don't see the merit of it because it's and not because they say, like, he's not a good writer or anything like that, but because it's like the spooky and it's like a horror thing.
Right. It's not taken seriously.
But the thing is, I did order on eBay another random sack of Goosebumps because I took one from my mom's classroom, and while black mold and shitty public schools and Chris Christie, piece of shit, took my other Goosebumps. Like, it's because October is coming, I am donating more Goosebumps to the class, and I'm going to try and see when I have, like, one of those when a public school day doesn't match with a private school holiday, to come in and kind of bring them in for October. But I mean, that's really what this is about in this whole podcast. I mean, famously, and you can read this on our Wikipedia, but we met because we both were doing creative writing, and because we both needed shitty dorms to live in at our school. Right. And to the point where, like, you would read my awful creative writing and tolerate me, and we would go to classes and learn together. And, like, I wanted to write because I would not speak in elementary school, like, at all.
Yeah.
I was, like, the most quiet kid. I didn't give a shit. Like, now it seems crazy, but all I would do, and the only time that would happen, is I had a teacher named Mrs. LeBrenz, who I would write these stories back in second grade, around my Goosebumps time, first grade, second grade, and she would send me around to other classes to read my stories for, like, my spelling words.
Okay.
And, of course, you described exactly what they wore, and I draw pictures and, like, everything, but, like, every time I wrote something, and, like, these weird stories that would either be about aliens or, like, stuff like that, just crazy stuff, a bear that can talk and weird shit, but, like, always kind of sci-fi or whatever.
Yeah.
Based on what I was into, based on like an inspiration of X-Men, Goosebumps, or, any other Marvel comics. But, like, I would have to go around and talk that way to people that I couldn't talk to any other way.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because of what I was reading and what I was doing. And that's, I guess, why this podcast means so much to us, because formatively, these books, while we shit on them now and make jokes about how Gabe, famously, who is canceled, #canceled, because of our
Gabe
previous
is
book.
canceled.
And in our new book, we talk about his tiny mummy hand, which just a preview. It's warm. We learned that it's usually warm, and he keeps it in his back pocket.
Yeah, which
He's
is his
jailing.
asshole, by the way.
Yeah, he just fingers his ass with a mummy hand he bought.
That's right.
At this point, is confirmed it raises the dead, but he still keeps it up his ass.
It raises something else, Dave. Let me tell you.
It sure does. And we discussed that, but at the same time, this means a whole lot to us. And R.L. Stine and Tim Jacobus, I think the art more. I bought books based on the art, 100%. I judge a book on its cover.
It's much in the way that we often select beers together that have the coolest labels.
One of my favorite beers is Brawler by Yards, and it's just because there's an old pugilist boxer fighting Satan. That's why I bought it, and that's why I love it.
Man, and I love that word. Isn't the word pugilist amazing?
Yes, it is.
It's incredible.
I'm a pubulist. I fight pubes.
I'm
with
pubeless,
my mouth.
but I'm also dickless, so you can't go by.
Do you shave completely?
No.
I know in college you used to.
I think
we both did. We both did, but now I feel like it's a different time.
It is a different time. I think people should embrace their pubic hair. I think being grossed out by pubic hair is stupid.
So here's the thing. I felt like we got really, really kind of like deep there and had a heartfelt moment. And I was like, if RLS is listening to this, way to go. And we just went straight to pubes because fuck us.
We did. We've been light on jokes this ep, Dave. We've been soul searching this ep.
Well, that's kind of been it. Like, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to finish this book. We need an episode by Monday. It's our 1 year. And we really, I think this meeting RLS, seeing Tim Jacobus, seeing that presentation meant a whole lot to me.
It sincerely did mean a lot to us.
It was a long day for me. Work straight there.
Yeah.
I missed dinner, didn't eat. I got home and I was like, you know what? Like, this was so worth it. This was like, and to the point where we finally did it. This is the thing that we thought we would want to do on the podcast and whatever. And I would love to interview Tim Jacobus.
Yeah.
Even though he really covered a lot of questions that we had. I have just questions. I have just general questions to being like, what? So you were like a metalhead growing up, and you discussed that. Curly originally had long locks of hair, and they were like, "Why is this a lady?" And he's like, "No, it looks like he has long hair, like a metal guy." And he's like, "What guy has this hair?" He's like, "I do."
Yeah.
And just like there's so much of themselves in these books, and it means something different to you and I, but at the same time, it's so uniquely them, and that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head before. It's like any art. I think the great explanation, and this is what I always think of this because you and I both really like Elliott Smith, and
Thanks to you.
Something he used to say is like the songs, and I think this is just art broadly, should show you what it's like to be a person. In other words, if you recognize yourself in it, it helps you to express yourself, and you can just sort of empathize with it, and it allows you to like have a conversation with yourself that you weren't otherwise, you didn't have the words to have before that, if that makes sense. It just sort of like
it does.
Enables you to open your dialogue, and that's what happened here. You were talking about the way that you would express yourself in elementary school when you didn't otherwise want to, was through art or through writing that echoed the books. And I did the same exact thing. I would show my teachers like basically Goosebumps copies. Like, you know, I'd write a page and I'd print it out on my computer, which at the time took like 10 full minutes. And
you have to take the peripheral thing, the perforated shit off the sides.
Yeah, right. And I would put it in like a laminated folder and like give it to my teacher. And this was an extracurricular thing. Like it wasn't asked for. And she'd be so nice and supportive. And
because it's what you wanted to do. Yeah,
it just was like, it just sort of hit this part of my brain that was just like, it just needed to be scratched. And I don't know. It's for those reasons. If I said any words at all just now, it's important.
It is.
So he could think like I wrote a bullshit book about a barking dog, and I don't even know what it was about. Who cares? But to us, it's like, well, that was pretty cool, and got the wheels turning a little bit.
Like thinking back to like what was I reading? What was my biggest inspirations back then? And it was really like I would read. I wish I knew. Do you know that guy who just wrote generic sports books back when? Something Christopher.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
I want to say Brian Christopher, but I'm pretty sure that's the name of two sexe.
I think it was Christopher Robin.
Yeah, maybe. That's it. Probably with Winnie the Pooh's. But like I would read his every now and then because I was like everybody in my family likes sports.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was like, well, my older brother read it too, and he's the most unathletic person I could ever list here on this podcast. And but like the two people that I look at now that I was the most into, like I read the most of, was R.L. Stine and Charles Schulz.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And looking at like I guess how I ended up and what my interests are now, and it's like the sci-fi horror, basically like genre fiction and introspective, deeper looks at mundane life tasks.
Yeah, just
so it kind of makes sense.
100%. That's what good writing is, and what good literature is like how can you expound on this mundane thing and express it in a way that I would never fucking think of. And have you just recognize it and go like, oh yeah, like absolutely I identify with that, but I didn't know, I would never be able to phrase it this way. That's like what you find in like a writer like George Saunders or something, or like David Foster Wallace, who famously said he was good at being just like a big giant floating eyeball and just being observational and just interpreting what was going on and just spitting it out.
And I never read David Foster Wallace until David Daniels, again famously our teacher and head of our department, got me to in his class. And amazingly, I mean, we got to read his work before he was allegedly going to come talk to us and then ended his own life.
Shit, I forgot about that. Not that he ended his own life. I forgot that he was in talks to.
And I mean, reading stories about, I guess, like a lot of his stuff and a lot of what he talks about is really, you know, he's not talking about a barking ghost. Let's put it that way. And to the point where, like, when you know the person and you see the person who wrote this, like, you get an understanding. And when you know that, like, what you just read, the person just decided that, like, they you know, that's it. Like, it carries a lot of weight. And this is very different. But reading all these Goosebumps books now as adults through a different lens than what we read back when, to the point where a barking ghost just being like, yeah, dogs sometimes can be scary.
Hell yeah.
And that's just all it being needs like, to be. He just like kids, he knows what's scary for kids and he's doing things and he's running through the motions. But like meeting the man who made this, especially after we're dissecting them as adults, is pretty incredible. Because while it's not the same as, you know, listening to, you know, like in like a later, I don't know, it's like going through what we did with David Foster Wallace and reading that and having to come to school with notes on the themes of a book and then learning the subtext, the reality, the history of it that's happening at that time is very different from that, but it still means something. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think getting that subtext and just getting the, you know, fuck it, and just kind of like the fun of it and his personality and his jokes and just like what he was going through and how Fear Street was his passion project and this is something he didn't want to do, but how he found his strokes and made it his was cool. Hell yeah. So Dave, my phone's going to die and our conversation will end. But before we bring this podcast to a close, I think we should do our best dressed spook and scare and alternate title for our encounter with R.L. Stine and Tim Jacobus. Hells yeah. So let's do it. We'll do our top spook and scare. What was your top spook and scare? My top spook and scare was probably meeting R.L. Stine. I grossly underestimated how nervous I would be. I sweated a lot. I smelled like BO. No, you didn't. I couldn't. I was close to you. You did not.
I appreciate you saying that. I couldn't contain myself. A close second spook and scare was when he yelled at that baby. Not because he yelled at the baby, but because the room fell silent and I couldn't read the room. I was like, does everyone think this is inappropriate or they think it's very appropriate? I didn't know. So it was a little awkward.
So my top spook and scare was when he yelled at the baby. When he was just like, do I have to be a nice guy? Should I be? I guess I have to be a nice guy. Because usually my spooks and scares of this podcast is when I'm like, oh yeah, like tell me more. And at this point I was just like, what do we do? Like, because it wasn't R.L. Stine's move. Yeah. It was the people running the events move. And he said it, and I was like, are they going to do something? Or is R.L. Stine going to have to stand up and punch this baby?
Right. And guess what?
He punched the baby.
That's right.
You guys weren't there. You don't know. You don't know what he did.
We're telling the truth.
Best dressed. There's only one answer for this.
I mean, yeah, it's my boy RL. Though I will say that...
Are you kidding me?
Oh.
There's only one answer.
It's... the baby.
Fucking us, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It was us in our matching Creepy Co shirts.
That is a way better answer.
Us, baby.
I was thinking about all his Kohl's gear, but you're right. We looked
It was
great.
us, baby. Sorry,
actually,
RLS.
In the beginning, when we first got there, some woman behind us took our photo.
Yeah, she did. She was like, oh my God. And then other people asked where we got our shirts from. We were kind of the talk of the town.
Yeah, Tim Jacobus noted where we got our shirts.
Yeah. Because I guess they probably talked to him because it's an official license. So
right.
All right, and I don't even remember what our last shit is.
Alternate title.
We don't even have a title for this.
No, I guess
I have to come up with one.
Yeah, it would be like the meeting of R.L. Stine. It would be the original title.
Yeah, it came from the Paramus Barnes and Noble. We came at the Paramus Barnes and Noble.
Oh, I also want to say that RL, some fan brought him a bunch of cookies, and guess what? He's not afraid. He went right for those fucking cookies.
No, he went right into them.
He was eating them the whole time we were there. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. He gave one to Joan. He's like, yeah, we're going to be buried together. I already bought those plots.
Hell yeah, I already tested these, baby. They're not poison. Yeah, I would say the day that I smelled RL's ass. I don't know. Dave, I'm not funny today. I mean, I'm not funny ever.
This has just been a very heartfelt episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's not RLS and Jacob me. It's RLS and Jacob us.
Love it. I can't top that. I think we should go out on that note.
All right. Thank you guys for listening for this entire year.
Yeah.
It's important to say that this episode is released one day before October, which is the spookiest month and my favorite month.
I'm scared.
We're trying to make sure we give you some cool October content. Mm-hmm. I mean, our content is already the most we can give. We very much care about this.
Yeah.
There's points where we read a book a week, and they are children's books, but it takes some time in your day to day.
I'll tell you what, I don't always want to do it.
I don't always want to do it. And it's to the point where it's like sometimes you just want to give it time, have, a little space between reading children's books.
Yes.
I know we were supposed to do The Mummy this week, just saying that, but I'm like, let's just record tonight. I'm not going to read a mummy book.
Let's take it easy.
My car is held together with zip ties.
Yeah, you're having a day, as they say.
I'm having a week.
You're having a week.
And my fucking cats are being dickheads. So
yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. It means so much to us. We already talked about it up front, and other people have talked to us about like marketing for the podcast, and we always decided up front that this is something that we wanted to do regardless of the end result.
Yeah, we're just going to do it. I mean, we're realistic about it. It's just whatever. It's just a fun thing. It allows us also to have conversations with people and connect with people in a different way. We've talked to a ton of people about, just about their passion for, I don't know. We just connect in this, everyone has this childhood connection.
So do you feel like you could be funny now for one last thing? Because talking about connections, we just want to thank all the people who have connected with us and the people that we've met along the way. Mm-hmm. And some people have found us through Reddit. Twitter, and giving us reviews.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
It's the 1 year anniversary, and this is somebody who I have to say, like, we've never met before. I'm pretty sure if we have met you, I'm deeply sorry.
Whoops.
Whoopsie daisy. But has, I mean, listened to our episodes, commented on Instagram, interacted, which is what we always want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you just want to talk to us about stuff or comment, like, we're just people who are fans like you.
We're just like you.
We're just like you, except dumber. So this episode goes out to the one person who I think has really been there the entire time and latched on and kind of been like what I feel like I am for so many other podcasts. This is Fake Mike Jones.
Fake Mike Jones.
Bought a brewery glass.
Yes. Know
Makes
him.
me so
Heard
happy.
of him.
So he said required listening for all the little ... I hate you, podcast app. I hate you. It doesn't say what it says, but it says, this podcast is nothing less than amazing. Two grown men reading children's books. What could go wrong, you ask? When a new episode drops, I immediately have to listen to just hear the antics of Dave and Matt are up to this week. The friendship between those two hosts is what really makes the show enjoyable.
Aww.
Their ability to play off of each other and have fun with the material is a highlight of the show. They realize how silly some of the premises of the books are and aren't afraid to satirize the material, which shows how much they love the series. This show will make you laugh and shake your head at the same time at some of the nonsense the hosts managed to come up with. Now kill me so I can haunt your houses and go boo dudes while drinking all of your crappy beer. And this, I think, was the review we needed to say for our 1 year episode, because this makes me, I mean, we never expected to have something like this, but this makes me feel like the warmest.
My goodness. We don't deserve such a review.
I don't even want to kill him, but he asked for it.
Oh, baby. Yeah, you could...
I know your phone's going to die, so you go first.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. So, Mike, which is not your name.
You fake.
You faker. You arrive at the DMV. Finally, you can renew your driver's license. You're in a long-ass line, of course, and you get to the front, and the person who works there says, "Hey, are you fake Mike Jones or are you real Mike Jones?" And you go, "What's up, baby? I'm fake Mike Jones." And they say, "Okay, I have to use a special kind of camera then, because you're not real, you're fake." And you go, "Okay, that makes sense because I'm fake." And they take out a big old camera, and it looks like a spaghetti machine. And they prop it up on the counter, and a spaghetti machine, by the way, is a dough maker. It's like a pasta wheel that they use in Italy. And there's a flash, and they take your photo, and you think you're okay for a second, but then your skin melts, brother, and your dick falls off, and your asshole opens. Who's problematic, by the way. We don't endorse Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I actually call him Old Grandpa N-word.
A much better name. Yeah,
I don't like that man.
He sucks big time. But yeah, your asshole opens, and it looks a little bit like Hulk Hogan, and you're just like a pile of skin on the ground. And DMV murdered you, bro. Sorry, that's what they do. You should have gone on a Monday, not a Saturday. That's your fault.
Yeah, it was the end of the month.
Yeah.
All right, this one goes out to him because he talked about the Poplov. What is this?
That's a pint glass, Dave. That's all. That's your Amsterdam vodka.
So this is like a fifth of the glasses, Amsterdam
Oh,
vodka.
that's all vodka?
Yeah.
Me oh my. Dave just rocketed some vodka down his throat.
All right. We got to keep it short because Matt... Oh, my God.
Because my asshole's going to open, and I'm going to look like Hulk Hogan.
So you find a dark alley, and you see this very exclusive club.
Ew.
You walk in, and it says Mike Jones only.
Ooh.
And they go, "Are you Mike Jones?" And you say, "Well, who's asking?" And they say, "Me."
Oh,
and you say, "Who's me?" And they say, "Who's asking?"
Uh-huh.
And you're like, "Me."
Okay.
And they say, are you Mike Jones? And he goes, no. And you're like, well, I'm not Mike Jones. And he goes, that's what I was asking. And you say, well, who's asking?
Okay.
So he says, me. And then you just look at each other in silence and stare.
Okay.
Silence.
Silence.
He reaches up,
Uh-huh.
shakes your hand, and he says, now you're Mike Jones. Congratulations.
Oh my God.
And he grants you the Instagram name, The Real Mike Jones.
Holy shit.
Which comes with double prize money.
Wow. You were
and
a
you
Pinocchio.
live for 1,000,000 years.
You're a real boy. Wow. He
until,
lived.
Yeah. Until you have a heart attack and die.
Oh, shit. Dave.
But not a normal heart attack. A big heart. Because you love
Right.
us so much and you're so loving. Your heart gets so big that it comes out of your body and punches the top half of your head off.
Oh.
Like in Hatchet.
Uh-huh.
Like and like he separates the top of your head from your mouth.
Right.
Like if you ripped your teeth.
Right.
Like only the
From
top
your
teeth.
Yeah, you ripped your skull
Like
in half.
you know the skull for Zero, the skateboard brand,
Oh,
how it
yeah,
doesn't
I
have
do.
the mouth, only the top.
I've
Like
nollied.
that's the skull it makes.
Oh,
Jamie Thomas, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
wow. Jeff Rowley. Good Lord.
So this one goes out to the real, in my heart, the real Mike Jones.
Oh, you have the heart the size of the Big Show. Andre the Giant. Heard
Big.
of him? It's big.
Big. It's the opposite side of our dicks.
So many ventricles.
So many testicles.
So many
we love
testicles.
you. And thank you to everybody. If you've listened to this episode this far where it has nothing to do with a plot or anything, just our thoughts and appreciation for you.
Mamma mia.
Thank you for being there.
Weird. Bunch of freaks. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. And thank you for one great year.
Happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary to us. You know what
Dave.
happens on a normal anniversary?
Kiss, kiss.
Awkward sex.
Let's get to it. Bye, everybody. We have to go have sex now. Bye.
Goodbye.